We finally did it. We finished a book. I mean, we've read single issue, like, full books, but this is the first time we've read a full series.
From beginning to end.
From beginning to end.
What a spooky journey it was.
It only took us 6 years.
Yeah,
5,
all
6 years.
73 volumes of Naruto.
Steve, you were on We 3 with us, right?
I was.
Yeah, so we finished a 3-parter. Oh, spoilers. Steve's here. But yeah, we finished a book. Don't worry about Steve. He's right there. He's listening. He's thinking. But yeah, we finished one, and I think that's all there is to say about that. Can you do a toilet swirl noise to signify our spirals?
Yeah. They have like some real spooky undertones maybe
like
laid on
toilet flush right into the...
Yeah, it just gets longer, quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker until... Welcome everyone to the Comicsology Club. It's a podcast where I, Snoop Lynch, and my co-host Tig and Sturm.
Hey, that's me.
Oh my god, he scared me. Spookiest time of the year for that. Thank you.
Woohoo.
And joining us this month on the Year of the Guest, we have a returning special guest, Steve Kiker.
Now our most prolific guest, probably.
Yeah. You got the most...
Besides maybe Michael. But he doesn't really count.
Not right now, but he will in a second.
Yeah.
Kiker, how are you?
Boo. I'm good. I'm sufficiently skeeved, sufficiently scared.
You're spooked.
I'm a little... It's the spooky time. I peed before I came.
Yeah. Like, right where you're at.
Yeah. I live, but I pee because of fear.
You live in the studio is what you're saying.
I live in the studio. I sleep under the
microphones.
The mics and the...
Keeps them warm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we appreciate that.
Under the heat of an RE light.
Yeah. And we appreciate you being quiet this entire year because you never leave the podcast studio while we've been doing this. And but now it's your time to speak. And we're happy to have you help us finish this very long story we've been covering over the last many years. We're going to get into the final, like, 6-ish chapters of Uzumaki. But before we do that, and Higgins already brought him up, we need to talk about the great man and his great business, Michael Lopez with
Aaron
008.
Lopez. Oh, sorry.
We can talk about her too.
Okay.
Love talking about her. But let's talk about their business, 008 Studios.
Yeah. They make books. They make games. They make comics. They make other multimedia stuff except for music.
Oh, he hates music so much.
He just has bad taste in music. That's why he hates it so much.
Yeah. And
he's like, no one's going to like what I put out.
Yeah, and rather than work on himself, he'd rather just, shut down all of it. And
yeah, stick with what you're good at.
You have to respect that in a way.
Yeah.
And so we're not going to play any music here, not even spooky music, but we might, hum something a little spooky.
Yeah, we're only allowed to put like 15 seconds of music in our podcast anyways, before like copyright happens anyways.
Exactly, yeah. But he only gives us about 13 seconds before he comes over and beats us up. But right now he's doing a lot of other important stuff, so we might get a little extra time built in. But yes, he does all those things, the business, 008 Studios, like you said. They're working on a bunch of stuff. Things are getting pushed back. Everything's in flux, but also stuff's coming out, and that's the more important thing to focus on.
He's got like a lot of books coming out, right?
Yeah.
I haven't looked at the timers yet, but I'm sure they're coming out.
Things are
There's
just
a
around
lot
the
of
corner.
stuff coming out next year.
Things are just around the corner, that's right. I believe his comic is still on schedule to come out this year, which is going to be in the Icarus world, the Icarus Initiative, the Icarus Academy, all the Icarus-I. So he's been working on that for a while. I've seen some little snippets of it. It looks real good. I'm excited for that to come out. So we'll let you know when that does. But for now, let's... and if you want to work with Michael, I should also follow up with that. I'll leave a link to his website. You can reach out. Give him a pitch. He'll talk to you, see if it works out. Hopefully it does.
We'll send you his neighbor's address, so we're not really like giving you his direct address.
Yeah. Well, he's moving right now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Whenever he's settled in and gives us his new address, we'll just hand it out to everybody.
Yeah.
I think that's what he would want.
Postcards to all of our listeners.
Christmas cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything else. Halloween cards.
Yeah. I think they do those.
Yeah. Well, it's the perfect time for it as we talk about Uzumaki.
A bathtub or ceramic.
A scary book.
Yes, and we've covered what this is and who wrote it. Just a little refresher, or just a quick catch up for anyone who might be listening for the first time. Uzumaki was written and drawn by a guy named Junji Ito.
Our favorite horror manga boy.
He's like Steve, you might know more than me, but isn't he like the horror mangaka?
Yeah, he is. As far as I know, I don't know any. I guess I don't know any others. Hirohiko Araki sometimes does horror. The beautiful and beloved artist of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Oh, okay.
Which sadly we're not covering today.
Nice.
No.
But sometimes that's horror. But no, Junji Ito is like the premier sort of, the guy.
He is the guy. And I would say that comes down to the art, first and foremost.
He's so spooky.
No one draws a creepy face quite like he does. And you think your bodies can't do all kinds of gross and disturbing things, but he reminds you that they can. If you want to twirl up with someone you really like into a weird snake person, boy, do we have the book for you today.
Yeah.
Plus a bunch of other gross stuff. Kaka, I saw you yesterday. You were just plowing through this entire story. Is this the first time you've read Uzumaki?
Yeah, I'd read the first like 4-ish chapters a while back, but I can't read. A secret about me is I can't read. So I usually don't make it far in books.
Okay.
But if I have someone read to me and then they show me the pictures, then I kind of get it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had someone read me the book the entire way through. I found them on Craigslist.
Huh.
Tony, if you're listening, thank you.
Probably made you feel safer, right? Through the scary book.
He was like giving me an angry look the whole time.
Yeah.
The whole time you read it.
That's probably just to really sell the intensity of the story that he was reading to you, though.
I thought so. But then when I handed him the money, because it was a Craigslist deal,
yeah,
he didn't want to take it. He like said, "Your money. I don't want your money."
Wow.
I don't like. You know what? I had nowhere to go with that.
Seems a bit aggressive, though.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Point is you got the book read to you. You're caught up, so you could talk about the final chapters with us. But before we do, Higgins and I have talked plenty about the kind of first and second half of the story. But yeah, anything that you want to kind of just quickly cover and talk about, things you like, things you don't like, the pacing of it overall, like where are you sitting with this after you got the story in you?
Actually, I do want to pipe in one little quick tidbit.
Okay, go for it. I wasn't ready to talk.
Before we do that, just think it over real quick, and then you can hop in right after I'm done.
Call Tony if you need to.
The real main reason we're doing this is, as we told you guys years and years ago, the animated series is coming out and is out with four episodes now.
It's done.
The reason we decided to do this years and years ago is because they were going to animate a series and put it for our viewing pleasure. And here, 5 to 6 years later,
it all worked out.
It finally happened.
Yep. The month of as well.
I literally think every time we decided to review this book, they were like, "It's coming out this year, guys."
Yeah.
And people love it.
And now they finally did.
And it's a hit.
Yeah, no, I've watched a few and it's good, and maybe we'll talk about that later.
No, we will. Because I have also watched 75% of it.
I've watched 3, yeah.
Yeah, so
I've seen
of the 4 so far. I don't know if that's all they're putting out or what, but
I'm pretty sure this is going to be it.
Yeah.
But we can talk about that when we get into a later segment, and Higgins will kindly interrupt me when we get to that point. I'm looking forward to it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, if you think about it, if you remember, just step in. But yeah, Kiker, do you have any thoughts? You call Tony, he tell you what to say.
I did talk to Tony in the interim, and we both kind of think I liked. Okay, here's what I like: is it starts off sort of as an anthology of these connected stories of things that happen, obviously regarding the quote curse of the spiral, and then things that surrounding Kirie and Shuichi. And they're sort of like loosely connected, or just connected by that. But then later, around chapters 15 through 20, actually a little bit before then. 15
through 19, really, right?
Yeah, true.
When we're heading into the third and final act.
Yeah, in the third act, they all become. It becomes more of a serial wherein each chapter is directly tied to the last, and I liked the anthology sort of feel of it, but I really liked how Ito was able to just carry the horror from chapter to chapter without in the first 10, 11 or so, you lose the pacing because it starts a new.
It's a new adventure every time.
It's a new adventure, a new episode.
Yeah.
So you have to start the pacing over. This one, he was able to keep the pacing over. God, like 300 pages of manga. It's really something, and it never seemed to slow down until the very end.
Well, that actually brings a very good point regarding these last few chapters we're going to cover, where, yeah, the pacing of it up to the point we had read was very much just not disjointed, because you have the two main characters you mentioned, Kirie and Shuichi. They kind of keep everything grounded and connected, but they were off doing their own separate things. It's a good way to kind of build the tension, build the world, build the village. This is just we're barreling through to the very end, and we're not stopping. And that, while it felt a lot at first, I think the overall kind of point of it makes sense. And I'll get into kind of why that is. Higgins, how'd you feel kind of covering this last little bit?
Yeah, it's kind of wild. The other stuff, it's wild that we like nailed it so hard. Like with which issues we picked on our previous like stuff. We're like, we did the first two and they were anthology and it was really fun. And then we get like this one concise story to like wrap it all up for the final bow. Yeah, 14 issues. We were like, oh, we just kind of got like a fun little romp. And then, well, fun little romp, so not the best words, but
sometimes people were having fun until like their faces like caved into themselves, or they got stuck to a light pole. But they were having fun up until that point.
Yeah, and then we got like a more typical like graphic novel story to cover for you guys this time.
And it managed to use those elements established in the previous expert world building and expert writing to use the previously established element. I think I'm too close. Previously established elements to tell the rest of the story.
Yeah,
like the snails.
I wasn't expecting so much to come back in these final chapters. Like,
yeah,
in that, I think that is good writing. Where when we were presented with it, you know, we get the chapter with the person turning into a snail, and then that starts to spread to a couple other people because they touched them or, you know, whatever.
And then had sex with them.
But it's fine because, you know, they're
There's
neither
no love.
They're neither guy nor gal.
I think snails are like hermaphroditic.
They're hermaphroditic.
Yeah,
they are.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, get it in where you fit it in, right?
Yeah.
But to bring all that kind of stuff back into play, I was like, oh, okay, so there was a point of doing this specific kind of story. Like, it wasn't just because, well, snails have spirals. Like, yeah, that was kind of the setup, and that was the recurring theme. But it actually does play into the final arc. One thing I don't like about this is we are just rushing towards the end in these last chapters. It makes sense, but then when we get to the end, I did leave feeling a little unsatisfied.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I think he's kind of doing the same thing that we get with a lot of horror movies, where you're like watching the movie, and you're like, obviously, like this bad stuff's happening, but obviously our good guys are gonna figure it out by the end and stop the big bad. But at least like a number of horror movies I've watched recently, like Smile and God, I had another one in my head.
Smile 2.
I haven't watched
Still
Smile
smiling.
2. There was another one, like Evil Dead Rise and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
Like, the bad doesn't stop at the end. They give you a little bit of hope. You're like, oh, they might have figured it out, but like, the bad's still there.
Yeah.
And they talk about that a lot throughout this.
About how it was here before us, it'll be here after us.
I think that's what makes it feel good to me, is the part which we always talk in circles about this.
Nice.
Thanks.
Spirals. Even.
I did that.
You were making a joke.
Not intentionally. It came out, and then I was like, "Oh, that's really good."
Because they're everywhere.
I hope you acknowledge
because the
that,
spiral
guys.
is in us.
Yeah. But
I didn't get it because he pointed instead of doing this, where he makes a circle or spiral. But no, good joke, Higgins. Good joke. Continue.
It was by accident. But yeah, like we talk in circles about the books that we're doing But I think the big part of this is that they figure out slowly but steadily figure out the history of the town, where like it is in shape of a spiral. They find like a scroll that has like basically what the town ends up looking like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't know, like, while they're going, like, does this happen like every few hundred years? Does this happen every thousands of years?
Yeah.
There's no way to know like when the spiral takes hold again, but
Okay.
I think it'll, like, you come back however many years later, you got a thriving city in there, and then all of this will happen again.
Yeah, to spiral back to a point to what Snoop was saying, Junji Ito in an interview with Viz Media 4 or 5 years ago, said that the reason he makes his character his endings like kind of unhappy, or like not like what you would think of as a good ending, like good as in like
There isn't necessarily going to be a happy ending.
he said you can't have fear without hopelessness, and if you have like that sense of hope where your characters aren't like, I don't know, like constantly expressing, not constant, you don't have that sense of hopelessness where your characters are like this, just a sense of dread, a feeling of dread, or even like coming out like on top, or if they made it out of the city, then like where's the scariness in that? If they made it out of Kurozucho, where's the horror in that?
I kind of think, and I'm ready to say what happens at the end if you guys are, so I can say the thing I'm about to say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I'm more or less I'm agreeing with everything that you guys are saying. I do have things I want to kind of add on to that, but yeah, go. So basically, you can take over. But it turns out that the town was originally built as a spiral pattern with these. We've seen them before. These row houses, these kind of just shacks that were scattered throughout the town. Well, originally that's all there was, and because of the curse of the spiral, it makes the people that are still there finish that pattern. It leads into the center of the town, which is Dragonfly Pond.
Yeah, and it drains down into a spiral world.
Yeah, into a spiral city, which is the origin of the curse, and it just spreads out and takes over everyone within the vicinity.
Built by who knows what, and filled with the corpses of who knows how many people, which have all become a part of the city itself. They've all sort of like twisted and tangled together in these row houses. The people that are getting crammed into these row houses because there's nowhere safe to stay outside of them.
Yes.
Become tangled together, and they fall into, or sort of get sucked into, this spiral city and become part of the city.
Yeah,
which might be alive.
Which we talk. Everybody's going down into that. Our main two characters, Shuichi and Kirie, ended up wrapped up together, turned to stone, and we were talking about there's no like hope in the end of this story. Or I think like them coming together at the end. In like the hopelessness of the story, I don't know that they find hope, but they find like a
peace. Yeah,
like a peace or a gentle ending despite the horror.
It's kind of...
I thought it was pretty.
Yeah, it's pretty delightful. I think he nailed it.
It's kind of the best case scenario for them, given all that they've been through and what their options are at the end, because
there is no escape.
Yeah, and we had covered this as we went through in the previous episodes. While the first kind of 75% of this was anthology, it was also getting worse. Like, more situations were happening more often, more and more people were suffering as a result. And so when we get to this part, people can't really move around the city or speak too loudly because the spiral curse makes them create typhoons. Some people have embraced that and become... It's almost like Mad Max, but just with typhoon powers.
Yeah,
everyone's just gone insane.
Tornado riders or whatever.
Yeah. And then the people who have kind of tried to hold on to their sanity and not do this become the snail people, who, because you're moving too slow and the curse is catching up with you. And so it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. The only salvation they get is when they're inside these row houses, and as a result of that, they just keep filling up and filling up and filling up until eventually the people that are in there all become intertwined, and then they build out the row houses
build them out
for them to create more space, and it creates the cycle. And I do love the ambiguity of the story, where yeah, like this happens every so often. We don't need to know, does this happen every 1,000 years? What's the core cause? I don't necessarily care about any of that, and I like for a horror story that you don't get it explained to you at the end.
It's scarier to not know why.
Exactly. I love all of that, and I agree with kind of the peacefulness of the realization that Kirie and Shuichi have at the very end, which is just like, okay, we got to the center finally, and we thought all our answers would be there, and it turns out, oh no, this is what has to happen. We're just going to embrace it and finally be at peace. And what I also enjoy about that reveal is the reason that this curse even happens is because all the people that are caught up in it become stone and disappear at the bottom of that lake. And so then more people will just eventually come back and it'll start again.
Yeah, it'll
and
rebuild.
That's why no one ever knew. Because when Higgins and I covered the other parts of the story, the one complaint I always had, or not even a complaint, but just one question I always had was, what's wrong with these people? Why will no one leave? And also, how come this isn't getting out to the world? It's because the curse won't let it. I like that reveal. That's enough for me. I think my thing that I didn't really love is I thought there was going to be a point that our two main characters were our two main characters. I thought that there was a reason why, because I think you were joking about it off air, but the spiral would call to her. It would call her name through the typhoons multiple times. Shuichi just had this weird connection with the spiral, and his family kind of suffered as a result. And there was no realization with that for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's, I guess just because Shuichi was like the first to sort of recognize that there was something weird about what was happening with his father at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then what had happened to his mother, and then everything after that.
Yes.
What had happened to his mother, and then everything after that. And then I guess Kirie, just because she was with him, maybe. I don't...
See, and that's, when you start to think about it, it really just comes down to, at least in my mind, it comes down to, well, they were that way because we needed characters to follow, and there's no real reason. And that's the only part of the writing where I'm like, well, they got to the end just because they had to get to the end. And there wasn't any point of having them be special other than, well, we need someone to be special to then get to the very end and then realize it's all pointless and whatever. And it's not even the worst thing. It's just, it kind of fell down in that way for me. But everything else I really, really enjoy.
As far as the wind thing, I think that was just because she was outside when the storm started, and the storm saw her.
Yeah. It may be. No, that's why I'm bringing it up, is kind of see how you guys interpreted it and what you thought.
Yeah, I think a lot of the things, especially with Shuichi, we mentioned why we think Shuichi's there. He's the main antagonist to the spiral the entire way. He was trying to get out of the city in the very first issue. He was like, Kirie, we need to get the heck out of here. Both of my parents just died in 3 issues.
Yeah.
Let's leave the city. Why are we still sitting here? And there's always something that draws her back. But like with her, we're saying that nothing happens to her, but she's like the sole focus of at least 3 or 4 of the bad things that happen in the city.
Yeah.
And she gets saved by Shuichi.
Yeah.
She almost dies just numerous times.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like the first thing is like the hair, and then like
the hospital stuff with her and her cousin and the mosquito women. Yeah.
And then I think there was even a few more times where it's
she rescues her brother and his friends.
Yeah.
In the lighthouse.
In the lighthouse. She's like constantly in it, but like she's not like against everything that's happening, but she's
just around.
She's not she's not complacent in it, basically. All the other people that all this bad stuff is happening to, all this stuff happens to them, and they're not doing anything like about it. Like the girl with the head, she's just like, she's so focused on like having a boy's attention that she doesn't stop.
Yeah, it's
like,
about these
focusing.
obsessions.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like, same thing, spirals. They're spiraling into their own specific obsessions, and she's almost a border character to all these obsessions. So she doesn't get drawn in immediately, but she's always just like slowly panning around the toilet bowl, basically.
Yeah, until it's just, there's nowhere left to go.
Yeah.
And I put that up to, and that's the thing that always kind of stood out as odd to me, and I thought we would get something more of, is those characters, Shuichi and Kirie, were kind of always around during the situations, and even with Kirie in particular, she had some of the spiral curse affect her. With the other people, the curse just kind of took them over, and there's no real explanation other than just the curse is that strong, and it's getting stronger. They always just kind of seem to get out of it just in time, and I thought maybe there would be a point to that, and there really wasn't, other than just, well, there are point of view characters that have to make it to the end, that way you can see what happens. And it's the only part of it that falls down a little bit for me, because with everything that happened that we had read, I mean, like, just the crazy stuff, and for it just to be like nothing, it's like, oh, okay, well, I mean, it's fine. It just, I thought there was going to be something more. Everything else about this, I at first I didn't even really like the pacing of this ending, because it just felt so fast. But then it made sense to me, where I'm like, well, that's the point of the spiral, and kind of the theme of it is, it starts out very mundane in the very beginning of the story, and then by the time we get to these last like 6 chapters, everything's constantly happening, because we're just going to the center. Yeah. And I love the setup for why they have to go to the center of the town, because a big part of this story is they try to escape the town. They figure out, well, people can come in through the tunnels, they can't get out because of the curse. They can't go by sea because whirlpools just come out of nowhere and suck up all the ships. Let's try the hills. And then there's this journey of, they go in circles, and there's like a time displacement thing where they've been out of the city for years, but to them it's only like, like a week or something.
It's been a day or two, yeah.
Yeah, and I love all that. And so as a result, they are forced to funnel in through the newly created row house city back into Dragonfly Pond, and that leads to the big crescendo. I love all of that.
Tanazaki.
A tzatziki sauce is what, yeah.
That's Greek.
He might be Greek. He was from out of town. In the new characters in this were, they lasted longer than a lot of other ones we had seen. There's a girl who is friends with her because she is one of the, she's one of the aides that came to help the town after they had heard reports of what was going on.
Well, she was like a news gal, I thought.
Oh, she might be, yeah. She's just one of the new people that came in, and she got stuck in. They give her a lot of play in this back half for a bit, and I thought that was nice to have another person in here who's not just completely insane. And we lose her, and that's kind of sad. It just, all the horror stuff, which is what it is for first and foremost, is great. It was just that one little thing that I have that one criticism about, where I'm like, this just kind of became nothing at the very end. But I do think it is a beautiful thing to kind of find, like Kiker's pointed out, finding that peace in the center of all this horrific nonsense that they had to go through just because they lived in a cursed town. But yeah.
It's just hopeless. He makes it somehow even scarier at the end that the bad things are happening.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I like a lot of horror stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This was some of the most like unsettling horror I've been a part of, like I've experienced, like across movies, across shows, across I mean, I haven't read a lot of horror books, but like across all media. I mean, this one like gonna give me nightmares probably.
Yeah, you were telling me you didn't even want to finish one of the issues.
It's gross.
Nothing
that we already covered.
Nothing looks like this, and that is why he is as great as he is because it's disturbing, but also it's just like no one's drawn anything this horrific, and yet also there's moments where you're just like, this is actually kind of beautiful in a lot of ways.
Also, I don't know if he meant to do this when he was drawing it. Lots of like hidden spirals.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know if he noticed when he was writing or drawing it, but
it's like the clouds above, like a scene where they're doing something, like is like in a
Van
spiral.
Gogh portrait.
Yeah,
the grass. This is from the beginning. Like the grass, it's like a fern. It's a type of fern that like spiral. Mm-hmm. Certain things are just
little tidbits that almost make you realize the town's been doing the spiral thing for like way longer than anybody's even realized.
The whirlwinds were happening from the beginning.
Yeah.
Before anything happened to a single person that we saw.
Yeah, they would just kind of randomly blow through, and one really cool aspect of it to get to the back half of the story where, okay, like we're not slowing down, we're spiraling. No, I'm doing the joke.
No, he's doing the joke.
Yeah. Right to the end. My favorite sequence in this particular part was when they try to escape through the hills, and as they go further and further in, you just see all the greenery around them become a spiral in
warped.
various different ways.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's one of those things that you go, yeah, I would go mad if I had to be in this for an hour.
Yeah, the hands on the watch.
Yes.
Like
That's right. Yeah,
the
she had
hands-
a
she
wristwatch.
ask
Yeah.
what
she
time
had
it
a,
is.
yeah, and the hands on her watch were warped and misshapen.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that we don't get any resolution for, though, is her snail brother, Kazuto.
Oh, yeah.
Am I wrong?
Risotto.
Misato.
Misato?
Yeah, her
Yeah.
little
brother turns into a snail. They come up to the edge of the woods.
They say, we promise we'll find
promise
you.
we'll come back, and then he just goes away. He might survive. He might just be a stale boy for the
Might
rest
just be
of
a
his
snail.
life.
I hope no one found him and, spoiler alert, cooked and ate him, because that's what they do to snail people
Yeah.
in this world.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about that.
That was sick. That was
I mean,
sickening.
obviously, there's no more food in the town, so people get desperate.
People get desperate and they eat the people that turn into snails.
The tornado gang heats up snail people,
They crack their shells and heat them up, and then later,
and then our new boys, they get so crazy by the spiral that
so
they're
hungry.
like, why even cook them? Let's just have some
let's
escargot.
just have them. And then the one guy is like, he crawls inside the guy's shell. They were roping around on a leash one of their pals who was turning into a snail because they knew eventually he'd just
That
be a snail.
actually
And they
might
could,
be the Kazuto guy that I was saying, the name that I was saying.
Otoro. I'm sorry.
There's a lot of Japanese names that are hard to keep track of.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Well, we only read them like maybe once. Can you hear New Boy on the microphone?
Mhm.
I can, but the people like that.
He's beautiful.
Yeah.
He's just giving his input.
Yeah.
He read it too.
Yeah. Over
The
my
guy
shoulder.
crawls inside his friend's
Shell.
I mean,
Yeah.
not really a good friend, but he crawls inside his shell and like sucks out his. He describes eating. Spoiler alert! Trigger warning. He describes eating this guy's face raw,
Yes.
and then the feeling he got while being inside of his shell.
Oh, he talks about the curves.
Talks about the curves of his shell and how it made him feel like he was becoming a spiral himself. And then they get so worked up talking about this, their bodies contort and twist into spiral shapes, and I guess they just perish there because you can't, like, your bones break.
Yeah, they basically just do the same thing. Like you see, like all the people at the bottom, they're all just curled up, jumbled messes,
Yeah.
and they just basically turn into that. It's the same thing that happens to everybody in the row houses.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That just
They get
disappear.
tangled up.
Yeah.
Well, they get like sucked into.
Yeah, they get sucked into the center of the town.
Yeah. And I like how even the row houses, because as we had seen them throughout this entire story, you think, oh, like, for whatever reason, the powers don't work in here, so this is a safe space. It was all the spiral curses kind of planned,
just
because
drawing them into that.
then it just funnels them into the center, and you're like, oh, not even that space is safe.
Which manga can be confusing to read sometimes. Comics in general can be confusing to read sometimes. The fact that I could read what was happening and like it doesn't show them being funneled and sucked through these row houses, this spiral of row houses into the lake, but the fact that you can tell that's what happened from reading it is a testament to like Junji Ito's storytelling and his skill in art.
I don't think that there's a single story in this that you couldn't just read without dialogue and get the basic, oh, this is what's going down. Okay.
Yeah.
It's already very very word unheavy to begin with. Like I breezed through these 6 issues.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I finished the last 6 in like an hour at lunch.
Yeah, I read it like yesterday and like maybe an hour tops.
And that probably also has to do with the pacing of this particular like final 6 because it is just supposed to sprint to the end. It was, again, the journey of this is just really, really fascinating and really well told, where you get to see so much happen. You're set up with a world that you can understand, you can relate to, with people in it you can relate to. You get to see the madness creep in little by little, get worse and worse, and then just kind of multiply all at the same time until finally we get to that just one moment where, and we're at the end. And then just to have the final kind of page be the center of the spiral at the bottom of a Dragonfly Pond, rise up to complete the spiral town, and that's it. Like, I thought that was great. I really enjoy that, and it is very eerie. And I haven't watched the last episode of that show, but maybe they did that part pretty well. I feel like
yeah, I don't know if that's is it the last one for sure?
It's I've got things to say about that show and kind of what I think it did wrong with this. And that's not even the fault of the people who made it, because knowing what I do, but this is a really, if you're at all interested in any of this stuff and his work, I mean, I've only read this story. I haven't read any of his other work, but I understand why this one is the one that people always talk about.
Yeah. I read like half of one of his shorter ones called The Black Paradox, and it's still spooky. And me and Steve both own Gyo.
Mm-hmm. There's also
haven't read it yet.
Ramina, which is about a planet that eats planets, which is really good and pretty spooky. A short one you can find online for free is the Enigma of Amigara Fault, about holes in a wall, holes in a cliff wall, which is also really eerie.
Yeah, I've seen panels of that. It's real creepy looking. Yeah.
If you've been online ever, you've probably seen at least one panel from the Enigma of Amigara Fault.
Is that like
it's like 12 pages, so you can get
what's that?
Trepidation.
Tryptophobia? What about the holes and stuff?
Not quite. Maybe it does spark that in some people. I don't get that feeling. I just get a feeling of dis-ease.
And arousal.
Yeah. And a bit of that.
I don't really have anything else to say. You know, we've kind of covered all the bigger stuff before.
I do want to know why Mitsuo was the only one of the 4 that turned into a snail when they were traveling together. They said it was because he was moving slowly, but in all the panels you see them together, and they're all moving at the same speed. He was just tired.
Yeah.
I think it's like a, at least guessing, I think it also has to do with like an exhaustion thing, where basically you get worn down by the curse and then eventually it takes hold, because there were other people in groups where it's like, hey, do I have this on my back? And they're like, yeah, you do. It's like, what about me? No, you're all right. I think it's just like a will thing. And it can go in either way, because you have like those bratty punk kids who started the Typhoon gang because they suck. And I love the ambiguity of it, and you don't really get a ton of stuff like that anymore, just because everyone needs to have all the answers exactly as they should be presented. And sometimes I agree with that, sometimes I don't. This is very much in its favor a situation of the less you know, the more interesting it is.
Oh, 100%. I think the weird in quotes, it doesn't need to be explained. You can have that, and that makes your story more interesting a lot of times.
Yeah.
The only thing I want to talk about is the lost issue. There's an issue that wasn't included in the main thing.
Galaxies.
Yeah. I mean, it's just another. It could have been placed right in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
If we had wanted to, it would have introduced, and I think that's why. I think the main reason it wasn't included is it introduced an aspect that he wasn't ready to include in the main story,
or he maybe started with and felt like, actually, this doesn't go anywhere ultimately, because it brings in like
the fact that it's like universal.
Yeah, like it might be a curse from space, but also because it's like radio waves and galaxies that make you go insane. It still has the spiral pattern, but at the very end of it, they just go, and no one ever saw those galaxies ever again. So
yeah, when I was reading it, I was thinking, like, as I was like, this is fine to not be included in the full story.
Absolutely. Yeah.
One, radio waves aren't spiral shaped, but they were talking a lot about radio waves, not so much as they were talking about the galaxies that were emitting them.
Yes. Yeah.
And then not everything's got to be a spiral shape, but like when your thing is a spiral curse, radio waves kind of don't.
And then like people in town, like,
it just
were constantly like in each other's head at that point, and I don't know where that would have like fit.
It just didn't fit in with the rest of the story.
Yeah.
It was a cool idea.
It was great. It was a really fun chapter, but yeah, it didn't fit in. It didn't feel like it had the same like vibe.
Its best thing it had going was the art, like to see the galaxies and what he was doing with them. But
It was
yeah,
beautiful.
outside of that, it was just kind of okay. We're done with this. I honestly really enjoyed more the. I don't know if you guys got them in your versions, but the pages of stories about him.
Yeah, the off little what do they call them?
It's
I
like
know
a
what you're talking
comic about him learning about the spirals.
Yeah.
And they put those all at the back half of the back pages of our book.
Same for me. Yeah.
They all like right at the very end, where you could probably see that, like, if this came out issue by issue, he might have put it in at the end of like a 5-issue story.
Yeah.
Just like slapped it there at the end, and it's like, I'm learning about the spirals, and then he slowly starts spiraling out of control.
Yes, it's something that doesn't have any real stakes, but it's just a fun little kind of thing to visit. Kiker and I, well, I think you started reading it too. That muscles and magic story.
Mashal.
How he has his little notes about like.
Yeah, he'll just include a little bit of author notes in the middle of between chapters. I love that.
Yeah, me too. And it was fun to see, because he does like one or two in this where the first joke is like, oh, it was all a dream, but then in the second story it's just like,
Actually, it wasn't.
It wasn't a dream, and Uzumaki sitting in my house.
yeah, here's an old man who's just eating ice cream. It's just like, let me tell you about the spiral. It's dumb and it's fun, but also it's unique to him because he still draws it in a very creepy way. Because I mean, when that old man does show up, you're like, oh, I wouldn't want this man in my house.
Something I like. I don't know if you guys caught onto this or noticed it. In the dream sequence, Junji Ito draws himself like a typical manga protagonist that is very pretty.
Yeah.
But then in the sequences that aren't dreams, he looks more like himself.
He's exhausted.
Yeah, he's exhausted. He looks more like himself.
Yeah.
His features match his, etc.
Yeah. I did. It was fun. Yeah. So it's just a good story. Like everyone always said it was. I'm glad I finally read it. I'm glad that we timed it perfectly where that show came out.
Yeah, I don't want to make the show part of our other segment. I feel like we need to fit it in this portion, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, do you want to go ahead and just start talking about it now?
I'll talk about,
wait, hold on. Before we talk about it, there's one important thing that we need to do. We need to give this story an overall rating.
Oh, yeah, we can do that. Let's talk about our drink real quick, actually.
Yeah, let's do
We got
that.
so many things we want to do.
Oh my god, you do that. I'm going to drink more.
I made a good one this time,
one is
guys.
tasty. I've been you might have heard me sipping on it a few times.
Yeah, it's Halloween's coming up, candy.
Chocolate.
And even though we're grown-ups and not really going like trick-or-treating, I was thinking, like, what could I do to make us have a little sweet stuff in our life? So I found a grown-up chocolate milk, I think is what it's called. And it's like 1.5 parts what's it called?
It's chocolate milk
1.5
and tequila.
parts chocolate milk, 1.5 parts tequila, and then 1/2 parts of
3 halves.
triple sec and cold brew coffee.
4 halves.
And then you top it off with some whipped cream and some spices. The sweet spices. I put nutmeg on top of there. It asks for allspice, which is probably like nutmeg, cinnamon, like the sweeter ones.
It all tastes the same.
Yeah, brown sugar.
It's good.
But one of the better drinks we've had in the past few episodes.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
It's very tasty.
I mean, I'm a sucker for all dairy-related alcoholic drinks for some reason. Andy would be ashamed, but he's asleep, so he's fine.
Very turned off by the fact that we were putting tequila in our chocolate milk, and it works so much better than I thought it would.
Never in a million years would I have thought of that combination.
There's tequila in this?
Yeah, that's the liquor that we put in there. And I was thinking, like, a lot of the times when I made like a chocolate drink, it's usually the vodka that gets put in there. And I can normally still taste the vodka. The tequila's hidden really well in this. To the point where you can't even tell that it's tequila. It's just an alcohol.
Tastes like kids' chocolate milk, but it makes me feel funny, like an adult chocolate milk. Yeah, it's good. Also, the reward at the end is the whipped cream and the nutmeg. I want to make sure I point that out because a lot of people might not be in for that, but I think it's worth adding in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm usually a no whip guy.
Yeah.
when it comes to my dairy beverages, like a milkshake. Get that whipped cream and cherry off my milkshake.
I feel the same way.
That's
yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
I feel like the whipped cream makes it.
In any other instance, I would disagree, but for this, I think it's the proverbial cherry on top, if you will.
Nice. I don't like whipped cream on pies. I think that can go. Whipped cream on a shake belongs on a shake.
The problem with the whipped cream on a pie is that the pie's hot and the whipped cream melts. It's not good at that point. Yeah.
See, I like Cool Whip on pie. A different whip.
Maybe it holds up better.
And,
Again, it's a texture thing.
And pumpkin pie's my favorite, and that's served cold normally. So
pumpkin pie's so good.
I don't think I've had pumpkin pie.
Ever?
Never.
We'll get you one.
Ever in your entire life?
I'm not a huge pumpkin fan. I don't get into a spice latte around this time of year.
It's not quite as heavy in the pumpkin pie. It's good stuff.
Pumpkin spice latte isn't pumpkin flavored.
What is it? Spice
pumpkin
flavored?
Pumpkin spice flavored, which is the spice you put on pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
Huh. Maybe that's why I don't get into it.
Yeah, but
So
you
get
might
some
like a
pumpkin
pumpkin pie. We're gonna get you one.
And feed it to me?
Have you had a sweet potato pie?
I don't like sweet potato pie.
That's sad.
It is.
It's like the
But,
same.
you know,
They look the same, and they really
They look the same and they
don't taste
Probably
the
they're
same.
taste
not
the same.
comparable.
no.
They're not comparable.
Well,
Apples
Higgins,
and oranges.
It sounds like we both have our homework to do, honestly. But for right now, I think we all like this drink. I think I'll leave a description for it in the podcast notes below. I think we can move into our overall review and rating for this book. Now, Kiker's the guest. I'm going to let him go first.
Oh, thank God, because I don't have anything.
I give this one infinitely spiraling fractal out of 1.
Wow. That's all of them.
Yeah.
I think he likes it.
It's good.
How many Michelin stars can you get?
4.
4 to 5.
All right. I'm going to give it 4 Michelin stars because of all of the escargot.
Oh,
Okay.
that was a good one.
Thanks.
That's good. That's good. What a delicacy. I really like this. Again, I have that one critique, but considering everything else that I really like, I think it's okay. And so for that reason, I'm going to twirl us all into a big, strong coil because we're all stronger together. And we can all go to the deep, dark pits of the spiral.
It's really
as
going to
one.
make doing the rest of this podcast harder if we're all curled up together.
Yeah, but
We'll
in
do
a
it
way,
at the end. We'll do it at the end.
Okay, that's fine.
We'll curl up together at the end.
Yeah, face to face, butt to face.
I think face to face is best. So
You remember when they
I guess it
toss
doesn't
out-
matter. All the important bits are still in the middle.
Okay, can you brush your teeth before we do this? Just in
I
case.
can.
Okay, good. Because I mean, we've been drinking a lot of chocolate and tequila.
Yeah.
I don't think it would smell very good.
Dairy does make your breath smell bad.
It's
It
true.
do.
Okay, so
You-
we'll do all that.
You guys remember when they toss out the tangled corpse and we're like, it took us a long time to untangle him from us.
Oh, that's
Can
true.
you get rid of him? He's dead. And it's
Oh yeah,
that was so yucky.
There's a lot of stuff you guys should read in here. We didn't talk a lot about the minute details in these last 5 issues because it did
Spiral out of control.
it did run really quick, but everything's worth reading. Buy you the big boy copy. They're very pretty.
Oh, 3-in-1 volume.
Yeah.
Love it. Hardcover.
Yeah, I'll even maybe post a picture, but God, all of his books I think now are in this like black and red and white kind of like thing, and God, they're so pretty.
Can I admit something?
Sure.
You guys said Uzumaki. I thought you were talking about Naruto Uzumaki.
Yeah,
I read
he's
all
a spiral.
72. I read all 72 volumes of Naruto in 2 weeks for this.
He's a spiral boy.
And then I realized you guys were talking about Junji Ito's Uzumaki, and so I just read the cliff notes about an hour before we started recording.
You nailed it, dude.
Yeah, I know. You did less work and more or less got the same
Oh, you mean
result.
Tony read the cliff notes to you?
Tony and I, yes, read the cliff notes. I sat in his
Call
lap
back.
while he stared at
Yeah, do you want to talk about the show? Steve, have you watched the show?
I've not watched the show, but I'm happy to. I don't think there could be any spoilers.
No, it's literally like
the book.
It's word for word the book, but I think they do it in a good way for the show.
Oh, see, I disagree, but I want to hear what you say first, and then I'll go into my things.
At least in the first 3 episodes that I've watched, I really liked that they combined 3 or 4 issues together.
Okay.
I really liked the fact, because like a lot of the stories are small,
Yeah.
and I think it would be a hard task to make into one episode. at least a worthwhile episode.
I feel that. Okay.
But they say like the first episode they put in the stuff where like the dad, the pottery, they'll
do like the first
the
3
hair.
chapters in an episode, and the next 3 or 4 in an episode.
They work them in together
Yes.
where it kind of makes sense as a story, and it's already very creepy in the book.
Uh-huh.
But I think they do kind of hype up the creepy in some parts that makes it feel even more horror-y to me, which I kind of like. I'm a big horror boy, which is tough for me in this household because Bethany's like the opposite of a horror boy.
It's fine. You just get her like a blindfold and some earmuffs. You're both happy.
Yeah.
Sit in the same room.
Yeah, I've been watching it on my iPad.
Ooh.
I got the HBO or the Max
Yeah,
app
yeah.
on my iPad, and I've been watching it on that out in the hammock, and it was good. It was fun times.
And you watched 3 episodes?
I watched 3. I would have watched more, but like we said, it kind of was the story that I already read. So
It's fascinating. I also watched 3. How many did you watch, Geiger?
0.
Oh, you haven't watched any. Okay.
so we evened out at an even 2.
Nice. Well, I only stopped at 3 because that basically caught me up to where I had read at that point in the book. So I was like, well, I'm going to finish the book. I don't want to spoil it with the last episode.
I watched it after I finished reading the
Okay.
last bit.
Yeah.
So, and then I could have read it today, but I was this room that we're recording in was in shambles. So
Disarray.
I brought it back to
Got it up to snuff for recording
a
quality
somewhat
purposes.
recording quality purposes.
I appreciate that.
Wash dishes and that sort of stuff. Made food. Made a delicious leftover spaghetti bake.
Oh my God, it's sitting right behind you right now.
I know we can eat it later.
I can smell it.
Yeah.
I
The spaghetti noodles did spiral up a little bit. I got some mushrooms in there too, so that matches.
take a moment, step away from it. Make sure you didn't get cursed. Check your back. Make sure there's no shell on it, because if there was, we'd have to eat you.
I can't see my own back.
We'll check it later. So I watched the same as you. I think the first episode is the best that this gets. For obvious reasons alone, the animation quality takes a drastic kind of change. I looked into this a little bit. Basically, the creator of the show, or one of the creators of the show, after the second episode came out, because the second episode is noticeably worse in quality, he said, yeah, I know production kind of screwed us over, and that's why it looks like this. The first episode is exactly what I feel like this should be, and does what you just said of it adds something to the creepiness, where even the way that they move in that first episode is unsettling.
His dad with his like spinning eyes and that sort of stuff.
Yes.
The stuff that just doesn't come across on a page.
Yeah,
They did really well.
And they made the right call, because if you've seen any trailers for this and you've read the story, at least pieces of it, the big thing that they did is they left it in black and white. I think that was a great call, because
Color would have ruined this.
color would have just taken away some of the creepiness of it. And while I don't know the details or the fine art of animating, and I couldn't do a better job than they did on the last 3 episodes, I think with the first episode, what I noticed is it almost seemed like they had kind of that computer, like a CGI animation, but then they drew over it, almost like a Spider-Verse kind of situation, where they mixed the 2 styles. Spiralverse, exactly. The second episode and the third episode, and I'm assuming the fourth, just seem to go with this kind of bland, stilted CGI animation, where if you watch them move, one thing I remember is there's a story we've talked about before with the Jack-in-the-Box kid.
Yeah.
Ugh. And to see him move is just, it's not scary. It's kind of goofy.
They like make him a bouncy rabbit boy.
Yeah.
Because they take that part. I will say that part wasn't good. They take it out of a graveyard. It's like they're getting chased by this kid in the story, and he's kind of like a one-off.
He shows up
You see
at
him
the
get
very
run
last
over.
second as the Jack-in-the-Box thing. Whereas, before it was like they go to the graveyard to check it out. And that was when in that episode at the very end is when I realized my main problem with the way they've adapted this is I don't like that they combine these stories. And I feel like what they could have done instead is take some stories out if all they were going to get is like 4 or 5 episodes. I don't think that I knew they wanted to cover everything, and of course you do because it all is iconic imagery, but especially with the beginning, I think you can be okay with taking out some of these stories if you just don't have the time for them. Because with this, how we talked about earlier, where the fun of the story as a whole is you start out very slow and just it takes its time to kind of ramp up to the final end. The show just starts out like, okay, we're going to throw 4 different things at you at the same time. And even the way they blend them, while I don't think it's awful, I think it is very disjointed of, we're going to do this part of the story. Hard cut. Okay, now we're doing this part of the story. Now we're going to cut back to this part. It's just, it gave me whiplash at points. I don't hate it. I just don't love it compared to reading it.
I think for the story, I get where you're coming from. The first issue works so well because, like we were saying, like it spirals down and gets quicker as it goes.
Yeah.
And gets worse as it goes. The first issue works so well because it's such like those first like 3 or 4 problems that they face are like so small that it's easy to work them in together.
Yeah.
But then when you get to the point where you see Jack in the Box Boy, he shows up right after she gets thrown out of the building from the Spike Monster Boy.
Yes.
And you're like, I just got over the fact that I just got done being like pretty scared about this Spike Monster guy, which I think that they did that really well.
Yeah.
The Spike guy they did really well, and then they just turned it into a goof.
Yes.
Right as he showed up.
It's almost like,
so it took away from the horror almost.
That's what it is. It has no, or at least not all of it, but like a lot of moments have no impact. And so that's why I'm thinking, well, just don't do this one at all then. I think, what you said is exactly why that first episode works really well, is because you are able to jump back and forth between those stories, and it flows a lot better. Whereas, okay, now we're just like getting to all the heavy stuff, and we're just full on sprinting. Oh, but we forgot to finish the Jack in the Box story. Here he is.
Yeah, here he is.
I mean, I haven't seen it, but these chapters were originally published individually, not in a single book, but as individual chapters. And so the pacing of each chapter is like incredibly important to that chapter. And so to kind of take that out of, to mess with that, I mean, I can imagine it's detrimental to the experience.
It's disjointed.
Yeah.
And if you're not a comic book person or like a reader in general, you get the story from this. If this is the way that you're gonna get Uzumaki's story, definitely still watch it.
Also, something I want to add
and enjoy it, because it's still his art, and it's still spooky looking, and it's still it is spirally.
What it is. Yeah.
So it's still good. It just doesn't live up to the manga. Is where the disappointment comes from.
To me, and I'll let you get into what you were about to say. It's just basically, it's a lesser way to experience it. But like Higgins pointed out, if you just aren't interested in reading it, I think this is a fine way to kind of get the overall strokes of it. But yeah, that's all it is for me. So Kiker, what were you gonna add?
This is going back to something you said 5 minutes ago, but I didn't want to interrupt. Was that to keep it in black and white? I don't know if you guys remember this. There was actually a Junji Ito like horror collection anime series or movie that came out.
It's on Crunchyroll right now.
Oh yeah, it came out like several years ago. It was animated poorly, but it was in color. Which people didn't really like. It's like, again, manga originally is a black and white medium. Junji Ito is like a master of using these 2 colors, blacks and whites and grays, 3 colors actually.
Yeah.
To create this sort of feel and this feeling, and I think, I mean, I haven't seen the show. I've seen the trailer, which is incredible. But you got to have it in black and white to maintain that feel. To put it in color is kind of you're messing with the vibe that he's created through this story.
Yeah.
Now there's pages in color, but
that being said, the beginning and end of this book have some color stuff, and like it is
beautiful.
Fucking radical.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
I definitely agree with you though, where he does have a great handle on the black and white kind of aspect of creating manga. And it also just lends itself really well to a horror element of this is very creepy, and the fact that it doesn't have color almost makes it worse.
Yeah, your shadows can be very intense. Your lights can be very intense, and then you can do weird stuff in between.
Yeah, your contrast is key in all of it.
There you go.
Yeah,
Contrast.
I think the people that made this are like us. They're fans of his work, and they wanted to do something. I don't think that guy, I don't remember his name, but I don't think he would have basically just come out and said, yeah, the production companies kind of fucked us on this, because that's a way to kind of blackball your own career. But it's clearly a frustration. Hard. Yes, it's clearly like people who wanted this to be something. We talked about this, I think the last time we talked about this story. The fact that it was only going to be 4 episodes already seemed like, this is why do this at all if you're only going to give them 4, because that's not enough time. And I feel like this is just the best that they could get from the production company, and it's just a shame. There are just some people who, like on the anime side of things, whose work is iconic but also has never really had a great adaptation. I think about the guy, he passed away last year, the writer of
Toriyama. Oh, sorry.
Or Toriyama passed away this year, right?
Rest in peace.
Yeah, but who's the guy who wrote Berserk?
Kentaro Miura.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. Oh my God. Berserk will never get a
good adaptation.
Well, the 97 Berserk anime series, only 26 episodes, only covers the Golden Age, which is free on YouTube, is incredible. Don't watch it; it's disgusting, but it is really good.
But it's only the first arc, right?
It's only the first, not even the first. It's technically it's the second arc.
Okay.
The Golden Age arc, which is after the Black Swordsman arc.
I see.
But they skip that because the Golden Age is...
That's where all the really big stuff happens.
That's where all the really big stuff happens. It's beautiful. Watch it. But don't watch it.
I'm going to watch it, Steve.
Watch it, but don't... I would never suggest it to anyone, but it is one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. It's changed me.
It's just a shame that, because they've done arcs after that, but the animation, and I've seen clips of the newer animation, it's horrible.
It's bad. So not even the CG. I don't even mind CG animation.
But it's just
this
is the worst
good.
version of this that you could do. Yeah. And it's just a shame because every time that the people who are making it,
they're working really hard.
They want it to be good.
Yeah, of course.
But for whatever reason, it's just you can't get a good version, and it sucks that this guy, Junji Ito, just seems to have a similar problem where all of his work is just fine at best.
His stuff is difficult. I mean, you can read Uzumaki and tell some of this stuff wouldn't work well on screen.
Yes. It's very much an issue of do we even try? Because part of the appeal of his work is the art, and it's not exactly an easy thing to animate. But that also being said, with that first episode in particular, I think it's a really good version, an attempt at that. They just unfortunately didn't get the time and the money they needed to follow up on the rest of the show. I don't even think it's the worst version of that kind of CGI 3D animation, but I think the reason it really hurt people this time is because they waited so long for this to come out. I mean,
when you hype something up for 6 years, it's hard to live up to the hype. Did you watch it in English or Japanese?
I went ahead and just watched the dub, and the dub's actually
I
got some pretty
English
good.
Because I already read the story, so.
And you read it in English.
Yeah,
it makes sense that you would listen to it in English.
Yeah,
the dub's good.
If I was gonna,
fake fans.
Look, man, sometimes it's easy.
Sometimes I want to watch something.
Yeah, of course.
And especially like this, I wasn't watching it full.
You don't learn Japanese to watch anime?
Not yet.
That's fair.
I'll answer that in Japanese. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was told that no means no, so no. But yeah, I mean, again, it at least finally came out. So
yeah.
On this, the eve of our podcast covering the whole story, so that's good. We're the only podcast to finish a book the same time a really long anime adaptation came out of it.
I know we're so far. We're right. I can see the end of the spiral. However, there's something I wanted to mention earlier that I forgot. Have fun editing this.
Thank you.
This was like one of the this was like type of horror I cannot describe, and I was talking to a friend at work about it today, and we decided on the fact that it's like the haunting of an idea, right? Like the idea of a spiral, and which got me thinking. Since I started reading this, I've noticed so many. I mean, it's just a shape that appears everywhere in nature that you don't think about until you think about
Golden ratio.
the golden ratio, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. For anyone who's read it, that's a huge part of 1/8 of it. 1/9 of it now.
I've read one part of one. I've read a part of one that you've showed me.
Thank you, by the
and
way.
watched a few.
I'm very proud. Spirals just appear everywhere in nature. I'm looking at these cords tangled up on the ground. I'm horrified. I look at a lot of camera lenses at work, cleaning them and just like looking through them. Looking at like today, I noticed concentric circles on the glass, like marks where someone had scratched it, and I was like, I was shaking. I had to stop what I was doing and like tell myself like, no, it's not a curse. It's just a lens. It's just a piece of glass. I was cleaning a lens, and I noticed that the way that I clean them is
A circular motion.
circular spiral motion outward from the center, and then again towards the center and I was, I took a breath and I said, no, it's not real. The spiral's not in me. The spiral is not without me. It's not there. It's not a curse. And anyway, I wanted to ask you guys if you've, since reading this, noticed any, like, I don't know, you guys pick up on like things that you didn't notice before, like this idea of a haunting of an idea that the book presents.
I'm sorry, I heard about half of what you said because I'm too busy looking at the spiral on your tiger tattoo.
The spiral on my tiger tattoo. Exactly. I didn't even. God.
Sorry.
No, it's yeah, no, it's dizzying.
Yes.
No, I got a bad brain and I only focus on like one thing barely at a time.
He's only got
so
he's only got one good eye, and he squints
Yeah.
with that eye, so he really doesn't see anything.
But can you whirl it around independently of the other eye?
Doesn't look like it. I think you're fine, Higgins. No spiral curse.
Banana, readings for squares.
Ah, there it is. That's the segment we mentioned earlier. You did
That's the
remember.
segment.
You did
Oh.
care.
I was trying not to interrupt Steve, so I had to wait for you to say something again.
Wow. In a way, it's the nicest thing you could do for a guest. Yeah. All right. So this is the segment where we talk about things that aren't books. We've kind of warmed ourselves up with that, talking about Uzumaki the anime. But is there anything else that you guys have been checking out? Kiker, you're our guest. What were you been looking at?
Okay. I don't do a lot. Most of the stuff I do is not reading.
Okay, that's good.
You know what? Something I've been really into lately, really for the past year, but especially again lately, is Final Fantasy XIV Online, the hit MMO, which you can play for free today
Through level
70,
70, right?
and the first two critically acclaimed expansions, Heavensward and Stormblood,
Those are free
for
too?
free with no restrictions on playtime.
If I had a pewter, I would.
Fun fact, it's on PlayStation, it's on Xbox.
I actually do think I downloaded it on my Xbox.
Well, there you go. You can play it for
I have
free
no
up to level
excuse.
70 with
I
no
see.
restrictions on playtime. But I've been into that. The new expansion, Dawn Trail, just came out. They don't pay me for any of this. They should.
No, you pay them for that
I
expansion.
pay them for this.
Yeah.
For this.
But you're having a good time.
I love it. The new expansion, Dawn Trail, just came out. And you know what I always say? Anyone who knows me, I always say this. I never don't say it. I don't like in anime when there's like a tournament arc. So like your Yu Yu Hakusho, when all of it really is a tournament arc. When they just have the characters fight other characters for the sake of a tournament in which one character is going to be at the top. I don't really
It's okay
like
that you don't love my favorite anime.
I don't know. It's not interesting. Naruto did it, and that one was fine because I was a child and I have nostalgia for it. My Hero Academia did it. I didn't like that. Other anime do it. It's like a really popular thing. If you watch anime, you know what I'm talking about. Dawn Trail has done this, and I'm like, it's done it like a kind of a tournament arc. But they made it political, and now I'm like, okay, now I'm interested. And they managed to get me into tournament arcs, and it's kind of sick. And I've been playing through the Dawn Trail expansion, and I haven't finished it yet, so no one spoil it in the comments for me. But God, it's really good. I like all the characters. I want to protect them. They're all my children.
What's your character's name and what does your character look like?
My character's name is Slamari Dunka, and he looks like a person with rabbit ears.
Yeah, no, I was just I wanted people to know that because he's got like a carrot sword, right?
He doesn't have a carrot sword, but I have a tattoo
You have
of
a
my
tattoo
character
with the carrot sword.
with a
Okay.
carrot spear. Yeah,
Okay,
That's sick
okay,
as
and that's
hell.
why I said that, because I was like, he's got his character tattooed on him.
I have my character tattooed on me. That's how much I stand this game. That's how much I think everyone should play it.
Would,
and then we all get tattoos of our characters, and then we can talk about it together.
Would you mind indulging me in a small request and
Of course.
take a screenshot of that character with that tattoo and send it to Higgins so he can post it for this episode?
I'll take a picture of your tummy if you want me to.
Okay, yeah.
Hell yeah, love it.
Try age your
All right.
tattoo.
Let me know if you win that tournament arc, because I'm a big fan of
I
tournament
hope
arcs.
I do. I accidentally write a spoiler, and I don't know if I do, but I hope I do. Everyone listening, you should play Final Fantasy 14 online.
Yeah, it's
For
one of
free.
those. It's one of those few examples, and I say few because I don't like this genre of gaming, but just an ongoing service game that apparently is pretty good and treats its players well.
MMOs blow. Final Fantasy 14 and MMO does not blow. It's okay. Look,
It
sorry,
got him out
guys.
of World of Warcraft.
It got me out of World of Warcraft, which is a blessing.
Fix one addiction with another. I love it.
With another, I met my best friends I've ever met. Sorry, guys, I met my best friends in the world on this game.
Oh yeah, give them a shout out.
Thank you, Quinn and Callie.
Thank you, Gwen and Callie.
You're both fantastic.
They are really great.
They're really great people.
I met them and I love them.
Yeah, I love them. It's a really good story. If you like political drama, it's got that. More cutscenes than you can shake a stick at. Some people don't like it. Some people just want to play a game.
That's a Square Enix thing, though. You're signing up
That's
for
a
that
Square
if you
Enix
get
thing.
into it. Yeah.
Fucking good music. Pardon my French. Freaking good music. And then what else? Dude, they care about their players. They released the game in 2011. It was really bad. Everyone hated it. And they said, you know what, we're going to do better. They relaunched the game in 2013, 2014, and it's booming.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
They've made
And they built that into the story.
2 more Final Fantasy since, and people are still playing this one. So
Two more. 16's so good.
You think you'll jump on board the next online one they do? Because they haven't done an online one since this one, right?
They haven't. Maybe I will. I don't know. 14's like, I don't know,
12,
maybe.
12 was one, right?
11. 11 was one.
Yeah.
I would think that.
I don't have any intention of playing 11, but I guess if they came out with another one, I'd give it a shot. But like, I have a connection to this world and these characters, and I think if they did something, I mean, I'll play it because I like Final Fantasy. I'll play any Final Fantasy game they put my way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like if it's not the next one, it'll be the one after that.
If I don't get to make my bunny boy, it's a no go.
There's hell to pay.
Yeah,
Nice. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying that.
yeah, I have fun.
Nice.
What have you guys been up to that isn't reading?
I watched some horror. Last night we watched Woman of the Hour. I'm not going to talk about that.
Was she the woman of the hour?
It was Anna Kendrick's directorial debut about
It's that
the
movie.
dating game killer.
Yeah.
good?
It was fine.
Okay.
I've already I wasn't going to talk about it, but I've already listened to story beats about that specific guy.
Because it's based on a real thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was a real serial killer that killed a lot of people, a lot of women in really horrific ways. And it looks good. It's short. It felt rushed. But yeah, it was fine. It kind of tells the story. I kind of enjoyed the versions on podcasts better
Okay.
where they talked about it.
Yeah.
Anna Kendrick does great in it. She's a star, half a star in it. But I was gonna talk about Maxine with 3 X's,
I don't spoil it, but talk about it because I haven't watched it, but it's on my list.
which funny enough is the third part of a trilogy
Of the X trilogy.
that finished it, like the Triple X trilogy.
Yeah.
Well,
I think it's Maxine with 3 X's
It
for
is.
the movie title.
True.
Um,
Yeah, so you have X, which came out first, and then you have a prequel and Pearl, and then we're finishing it up with the character from X and Maxine, right?
yeah.
Pearl the prequel? Sing.
It's tied with Pearl for me. Neither one of those No, that's not true. It's my least favorite of the 3.
Maxine is.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Because it's the least horror out of all of them. And I went in wanting horror.
More of a thriller?
It's more of a thriller
Okay.
and even more of a crime thriller than anything.
That's what I got from watching the trailer for it. It was definitely, it had a different vibe because with X and Pearl, they're both on the farm. So this one takes it over to Hollyweird and does a bit of that, which I like the idea of going to a different setting, but also it seems like it wouldn't be as creepy.
X is the best one in my opinion. It's great horror slasher.
Yeah,
Perfect,
I love X.
Perfect movie.
Mm-hmm.
Pearl's fun because you get to see one of the characters from that movie
And the
figure
kind
out
of
like the stuff behind her.
well, just like the time period as well is kind of that weird, wholesome 50s, 60s kind of aesthetic that it kind of gave off, but also just creepy farm stuff. Yeah.
Mia Goth's a perfect actress.
She's really good.
She does really well in these movies. She's a perfect horror actress. And this one, it got kind of like cheesy almost in some sections. Like Kevin Bacon's a character in it.
Kevin Bacon's in this.
And he's like a PI and he sucks shit. And he's like the cheesiest thriller horror PI that you can like get.
I got you. Okay.
That being said, probably the most unsettling scene out of all of the movies happened in this movie.
Oh.
And like made me like in real life cringe.
Ooh.
Which didn't happen in any of the other scenes except for maybe when that guy gets stabbed in the eyeball with the
with the pitchfork.
With the pitchfork.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a scene which I won't say, but she's getting like a fake head made, and it's terrible.
Some gross stuff happening. Yeah.
She does really good. That's like. Honestly, that one scene's probably the only horror element out of the whole thing.
Okay.
She is a badass, which makes you feel pretty good. You can tell that she's like working very hard to be a part of this industry. Obviously, she starts out with like a porn movie in the first movie.
Yeah.
And she's working her way into big Hollywood.
What I've always liked about this her character in particular is that she's our main character and she kind of sucks. She sucked in X a little bit.
Yeah.
Just it's in by that I basically mean just like she's a person who isn't the worst person in the room, but also she's only thinking about herself always. And so I find that interesting just to see like what kind of misadventures is she going to get into, and when push comes to shove, will she do the right thing? She might not, but also if it betters her own journey, yeah, she probably would.
Yeah. So it was a good movie. It sticks with the gore that happens in the first two.
Okay.
And it's a good like finishing piece. I hope he doesn't try to do more
I don't
with
think
this
so.
story.
No, this is pretty much
that would
the
ruin it, I think, if they try to do something else in this specific like universe, but
yeah.
I think he wrapped it up with a good bow.
Cool.
With like the least horror out of all of it. I wanted to watch more scary movies this season, but B's not much of a scary movie gal.
Yeah.
She watched this one with me because we had watched the other two together, but
gotta see how it all ends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you could, get into something that's a little spooky but a bit more wholesome, like Halloween Town 2, Calabar's Revenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one's a bit scarier than the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bethany's sister's family watched Halloween Town and they sent a picture of it on Snapchat. Immediately knew it was Halloween Town. I was like, that was my childhood.
Yeah. As long as they don't watch the fourth one where they replace the actress with Sarah Paxton.
I haven't seen that one.
Just waste of time, quite frankly. Not that I have a problem with Sarah Paxton, but, what are we doing at this point?
The main girl's so good.
Yeah.
I'm going to out myself. Is this the one with the three witches?
No, that's Hocus Pocus. I haven't watched the second one either.
I've seen those movies too.
Yeah.
I should know that.
Not a fan.
What's Halloween Town?
Not a big fan of Hocus Pocus. Halloween Town's a Disney Channel Halloween movie.
Nightmare Before Christmas?
Yeah.
That's a Christmas movie. Technically.
When I was a child, I used to watch it on both Halloween and Christmas. I might pick that tradition up again.
Yeah.
I would only watch it on Thanksgiving, just somewhere comfortably in the
smack
middle.
dab.
In between.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, there is a Thanksgiving door presented like cameo presented in the movie.
But they don't go through it.
They don't go through it.
You're always wondering what's behind that door.
They could have done so many spin-offs, like direct to DVD spin-offs.
And they could have given Tim Burton all the credit like they did with that movie.
Valentine's Day Town.
Oh my God.
Thanksgiving Town. Not gingerbread. That's Christmas.
Well, it's a popular IP that Disney still owns, so don't worry, they will one day.
I hope so.
Yeah. I did watch something today actually. I watched Furiosa.
Ooh, Mad
I
Max
haven't
Fury
seen
Road.
that. I
No,
haven't
I
seen
did.
that, so also no spoilers.
Yeah. I think it's pretty good. It like everyone else had
It's
said,
more Mad Max.
it's more Mad Max. It's definitely
Fury Road?
Yeah. So it's very tied to because it is a prequel to Fury Road about that character.
The main character from the first movie?
The
But
one that Charlize Theron
Her
plays.
name is just
Yeah.
Furiosa from the beginning,
Yes.
Anya
which I
Taylor-Joy?
thought was weird. Oh, it's fine, but it's like she's born in this like beautiful garden place where everyone's peaceful, and they name her Furiosa.
Yeah. It's almost like they knew.
It's like they knew.
Yeah.
It's cool. She's badass.
It's good. I mean, I don't think it's as good as Fury Road. Again, I'm not necessarily gonna like discover anything new about this movie that people haven't already said.
How good is Chris Hemsworth?
He's fun. He's
I heard the last scene is really good.
He's the really disgusting old guy in the Fury
no.
Road?
He's a completely that guy's actually in
He's
this
Dr.
movie.
okay.
Demento. Is he Dr. Demento or just Demento?
He's Dementus.
Dementus.
But what's actually
Okay.
when you mention that or it's funny you mention that because this movie basically it takes it in chapters. Like there's actual chapter breaks. So it'll be like chapter 1 is escape or kidnap. Yeah, it breaks it up into segments.
Isn't Dr. Demento the Wayne Newton character from the Adam Sandler movie Billy Madison?
Who's to say?
I think Dr. Demento was a radio host.
He hangs out
Who
with
am I
Howard
thinking
Stern.
about?
I don't know.
That's all right. We'll get back to it, Snoop.
I knew it was Dement something. Continue.
You guys have really derailed me, but I
We're
appreciate
spiraling out of
this because
control.
it's making me think about what I want to say. So essentially, what I enjoyed the most about this Mad Max movie is it built out the world of Mad Max a lot more than what I'm used to. I've seen like the first one, and I've seen Fury Road, and
The first one or the big one?
the first one,
You watched
Road
regular.
Warrior?
You
Come on, Road
watched
Warrior?
regular Mad Max.
whichever one is. It's either the Road Warrior or Mad Max.
You
but
didn't
it's like
watch the Thunderdome one.
no, that's
Apparently
the third one.
Thunderdome's the
That's
best.
the
That's the third
that's
one.
the second one, isn't it?
No.
I watched
Thunderdome
the
is
second one,
that's maybe Mad Max or just the Road Warrior. It's
which
very
I
confusing.
think is like the big one.
There's
Everybody's
one
like
that-
the second one's the big one.
The first one is just the one where it's just like, oh, this is basically Australia in this time period, but everyone's wearing leather. I've seen that one, and then I've seen Fury Road, and now I've seen this one. It again,
love the world of
it
Mad Max.
builds out the world of what's going on.
So cool.
Is Mel Gibson in this one?
He's not,
He's
but
not.
there
Okay,
is
good,
a
'cause
guy.
That guy's
Good.
terrible.
That guy's awful.
There is a guy though who is basically just Mad Max. Like he even dresses like Mad Max. You go, is that Mad Max? And then very quickly they're like, no, this is a different guy. But also he's pretty much just Mad Max.
They didn't get Tom Hardy?
No, they didn't.
That's sad. Okay.
It,
I guess he would have been his character would have been like
Well, they didn't meet by that point.
it would have been a child also.
Yeah,
For
or
a lot
or
with-
like
for
the
first
same
half.
age. It's very hard to tell with these movies and how they
Yeah.
progress. I
He
have
is
a-
Mel Gibson's character though, right?
Mad
That's
Max
Max.
is.
He's the same Max.
Depending on who you ask, yes or no. It's very much implied that
I know George
It's-
Romero wanted to do Fury Road back after immediately after Thunderdome. He wanted to do Fury Road. But he
yeah,
couldn't.
because the character of Furiosa was originally supposed to be someone like a Helen Mirren type or something.
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, but I mean, I really like Charlize Theron and that character, and I wasn't sure I was gonna feel about even though I love Anya Taylor-Joy, getting her in. It's kind of half her, half the girl they get to because it starts out with a younger version of Furiosa played by a different actress. I think she was the girl in that vampire movie Abigail, if you guys have seen that.
Yeah, I watched that.
Yeah, so I think that girl plays a younger Furiosa for like the first half of the movie, and then they switch her out with Anya Taylor-Joy. They're both really good. Chris Hemsworth is a fun villain. He's just kind of a guy who he has convinced a lot of people that he knows what he's doing, and as the movie goes, you see it all fall apart because he never knew what he was doing. But it's more Mad Max, and while it's not as good as Fury Road, it has what I love about Mad Max,
could
which
never
is
be.
just a world that's gone to shit, and people are just kind of winging it on any and all occasion, which then creates a domino effect that changes the entire kind of political game of the world. There are moments. There's like a tanker chasing sequence, kind of basically like all of Fury Road, but where they attack the war rig right after it was built the first time, and I think there's just some genuinely cool action in this. Furiosa is a really great character, and you get to kind of see her build up to what we experience in Fury Road, and I think that's done really well. I think it does just kind of suffer from weird pacing, and then the movie's just over, which I don't love. But overall, if you like Mad Max, I think it's a fun movie to check out. It's very long. I wish it was shorter. It's like 2.5 hours.
Damn.
But it's, again, if you like this, I think it's worth a watch.
Can I just say Fury Road is the coolest action scene I've ever seen?
Just the whole movie.
The whole movie is one long action scene, and it's the best one I've ever seen.
I recently rewatched that before I watched this, and
I love that movie.
That's a fantastic film.
It's so good.
Yeah. I can't get over, like, just everything about that film is perfect for me.
You know what line I get stuck in my head?
Witness Me?
Witness Me, but also gas from Gasoline Town and bullets from the bullet farm. I don't know. It's so over the top, and like in any other movie and in any other setting, it'd be so silly.
Yes.
Mad Max leans into the silly.
Yes,
and makes it kind of scary in a way.
Absolutely, you enjoy it. It's funny, but also it is kind of terrifying. And God, if you love the word guzzling, you definitely need to check this movie out.
Yeah. Oh man,
because it's mentioned quite a lot, and you actually see the bullet farm. There's a sequence, like a whole sequence of the bullet farm, and that's really cool.
I always pictured it as just a factory, but then sometimes my mind wanders, and I think of like bullets on trees.
It more or less plays out just like a raid mission in like a Borderlands game, but a good version of that. So yeah, again, if you were at all interested, I would definitely recommend checking it out. It's on Max, your local streaming service.
Oh, right on. I love Fury Road. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. So I want to watch it. But.
Yeah, get into it. That's what I checked out.
I think I got our Max account on both TVs, so
right on.
Check it out.
That's almost all of your TVs.
2 of them.
Yeah, 2 out of 3. It's not bad.
2 out of 4 ain't bad.
Yeah, we got 4 TVs now.
One in the bathroom?
No, one in the one in your old bedroom.
Oh my god! Wait, that's the 3rd TV. Where's the 4th TV?
No, the 3rd TV's in my room.
Oh,
we actually have 5 TVs in this house.
So not even almost all of them. Less than half of them.
You know, I've been hearing so much about how the economy's doing bad, but then I come to a house with 5 TVs, and I'm really starting to question.
Don't we have one on the porch too?
We used to have 6.
No, we used to have 5, but a different 5. No, we did used to have 6. Yeah. My bad. Hey, fuck me.
Reese used to have one in our patio too.
This is an episode of Revelations. I love it. Yeah. But if we don't have anything else to check out, I think we can let the people go for another month.
Yeah, we can sweep it up. Check out our sponsor 008 Studios.
Yeah.
You can find them at 0-0-8studios.com.
God, you can.
That was good.
Thanks, man. I don't normally nail it, but I did it.
Well, you haven't nailed everything
quite done
yet.
the thing that I do normally mess up. We're gonna sweep up. You can find me at Mike Higgins 93 on X, which I don't really look at.
Not even after it became X.com officially.
If I see an notification on there, I'll probably see it for like 2 weeks, because I got a notification about like me having been on Twitter for however long I've been on Twitter the other day, and it lasted for a week. I couldn't. Every time I clicked it, I still had that red one on my telephone, and I was so upset about it.
You called up Elon. You're like, "Hey,
quit it."
When you're done doing questionable,
when I click on it, make it go away.
Maybe you could fix this notification issue. Yeah.
But yeah, you can also find me on Instagram at jsturm93. You can find Snoop on Instagram at Snoop_Lynch.
Oh my God, I was there today.
He's on there sometimes. He's on there more than he used to be. You can find both of us at 0-0-8. No, wait, sorry. That's where I mess up normally. Nice. You can find us at thecomixologyclub at 0-0-8studios.com.
It's true.
Where you can email us about what you want us to read, what you want us to do with our
lives.
Our buttholes.
Oh.
Huh?
Anything.
That's part of our lives. So
yeah, you can literally email us about anything, and we'll probably answer you, because we have nothing better to do.
Oh my God, I just
please leave us reviews on all of your podcast listening places of choice. We're on 30 of them at least. There's so many places to listen to podcasts. I don't know how they keep making more. I will not use Podcatcher. Spotify's just too easy.
It's an overly saturated market, but we're a part of it and happy to be happy
and
to
we're
be
happy
so,
to be in everything that you guys want to listen to.
Put us in your earholes, put us in your buttholes, whatever you need.
Yeah, leave us a review. We'll probably read it out. I don't think we got a new one. We haven't got one in a while. Abby knocked it out of the park last time.
Oh my God.
You can find Steve if he wants you to.
He's right here.
And I'm pointing at him where he can find
sure.
him.
Yeah, I'm on what is it? I'm on Instagram at pancakes. At pancakes. That's at PANK_ACHES. Pancakes.
Oh my God, what are you posting on there?
I post a lot of pictures of a dog, of a cat, sometimes of let's see, this one's some tree, and that's Tony Stark's house.
Huh. You got invited? Nice.
No, I
You just showed up.
I saw his house while I was somewhere. I was doing something else, and I saw Tony Stark's house, and I thought, oh, I got to take a picture of this.
Yeah, makes sense.
There's a pig on here. There's Mike Wazowski.
Well, don't spoil all
I'm
the
about to
goods.
say, let them, leave some up to the
I
imagination.
haven't said everything.
Oh my God.
There's a picture of you with the flock of seagulls haircut.
Is there?
There was.
Favorite.
There used to be.
Well, check all that out at the handle that he mentioned.
Send me funny stuff.
Oh my God, send them so much stuff.
We send a lot of memes on Instagram. Reels are better for memes than anywhere else is.
Yeah. Geiger, I'm going to sing you a big thank you for being on this episode with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I had to read for once.
Yeah.
That was really stressful.
Something besides JoJo's.
Something besides JoJo's. That was really stressful.
And you've got a beautiful new friendship with that Craigslist guy you mentioned earlier.
Tony.
Oh my God, Tony.
Shout out to Tony.
Shouts out to Tony.
Doesn't
Shout out
text
to
me
Mud.
back.
Shout out to Mud.
To be fair, you are in a transactional relationship, so you should give him money and then he'll text you back.
Good thinking.
Yeah. Send him Bitcoin.
Oh,
But no, thank you for being on this episode. I'll say thank you to Reese on the next episode because he's our next guest. We're not sure what we're going to read yet, but come back in a month. It'll be there. You'll find out then.
Figure it out. We're going to do something fun. I got a lot of comics that I haven't read on my
Thanksgiving
shelf that will
comic,
probably
dude.
make him. I'm feeling Bird King.
Bird King?
Yeah, Bird King.
Oh my God.
I could probably
I don't know
talk
what
him
that
into. I bought it like years ago,
Oh my
but
God.
Bird King Volume 1.
He'll probably just say okay and go with it. He's
Yeah.
that kind of guy, and I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to hearing his opinions on that or whatever else we read. But until then, I'll say cheers, guys. That's what I say. Kiker, you're next in line. What would you like to say to end the show?
I need a second.
Okay. 1 second.
Peace.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
I do have that egg in me because I ate that spaghetti bake that I made for everybody.
Good.
And I'm just not gonna say anything because we really have to get back to the bedroom to do our snake sex thing that we were talking about earlier.
I'm so glad you remember.
I'm still trying to figure out the logistics of it, but as long as our middle parts are in the middle, it doesn't matter.
That's gonna be tough though, because we're not all the same height.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You mean like the characters in Uzumaki that we just talked about?
Yeah, buttholes and wieners together.
Huh.
But you don't know which is which. You don't know if you're looking at your wiener or the other guy's wiener, and that's the real spooky time.
Happy Halloween.
What was that? What is that? What theme song is that? Scooby-Doo!